Aston would just change if she'd stop nagging, if she'd stop criticizing, if she stopped making everything into a big problem, then everything would be fine. It would be smooth, it would be peaceful, it would be great.
I also felt that you were the problem, but in a different way. If he would just change, if he was just open to growth, if he wasn't so resistant, if he wasn't so defensive. The truth is you can't make anyone change. You do have to accept that.
The problem with that is every time you're doing that, you're causing a car crash because you're crossing over to the other side of the road. And it's not loving, it's not kind, and your partner no one likes to be told what to do, especially in an intimate relationship.
But show them through your actions and your body language and your interactions that growing with me is safe.
And if I didn't change them, I was going to lose this beautiful woman because she changed so much. She was probably going to attract somebody who could meet her where she was at now. She'd grown and changed, and I wasn't meeting her at that level. So
you're both the problem and you're both the solution.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Save My Marriage podcast. My name's Adam Simmons and this is my beautiful wife, Aston. Today we're going to be talking about how to get my partner to stop blaming me and actually get them to change. We've had a couple of questions from you guys, which is fantastic. We love receiving questions from you guys. And we're going to answer those questions today and answer a couple of things that you guys might be wondering about your own relationship. And the first one is around what I just spoke to. And so this beautiful question came in from Ash, who said, my partner is really stuck in a state of denial. We're stuck in the my partner is the problem stage, me being the problem. And so we're just going to speak to this from both of our perspective because I definitely experienced this. In my experience, Aston was the problem. And this went on for quite a long time, where I thought that if Aston would just change, if she'd stop nagging, if she'd stop criticizing, if she stopped making everything into a big problem, then everything would be fine. It would be smooth, it would be peaceful, it would be great.
And there was definitely times where I also felt that you were the problem, but in a different way. And I also hear this perspective of like, if he would just change, if he was just open to growth, if he wasn't so resistant, if he wasn't so defensive, I kind of thought that I'd been doing the work longer than you. I used to tell that story that like, I'm doing the work, I'm the better one. And when you have righteousness, it's very hard to move forward together in your relationship if you're making yourself better than the other person. And that's what I was doing. And you were doing the same thing, but in a different way. You were basically saying that you were perfect, you were great. And it was just me. If I just changed, I was the problem, everything would be fine. So I know that everyone listening can relate to either my version of this or yours or Ash's version of it as well. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, I can relate, you're not alone and it's really common. And we're going to help you kind of move through this today and understand it a bit better. The truth is you can't make anyone change. You do have to accept that. And that's going to be hard for a lot of your egos to hear that you can't actually make somebody to change and you need to accept that. But what you can do is influence them, and you can do things that either, makes them even more stubborn and more defensive, or you can actually do things that starts to open them up and soften them and help them to lean in. And you're going to learn some of those differences when we talk about it today.
Yes, absolutely. And so the second part of this question was, at what point did I realize that Aston pleas for change were coming from her loving you and honoring the relationship enough to have the hard conversations rather than her trying to cause you to feel shame and disconnected?
Yes.
So that's a really interesting point. And I think the answer to that was simply that Aston really just made a decision in herself that she wanted things to change and she took responsibility for her side of the street. So I like to use this analogy of a street because it makes it very visual and easy to understand. If you imagine a street and it's got the line down the middle and yet there's your side of the street and there's your partner's side. What all of us want to do is we want to go over to the other side of the street and we want to fix up what's going on the other side. Our partner's not doing X, Y, and Z, or they are doing something which we don't like. And we want to go over there and we want to move things around and fix it up and make it right, how we think it should be. The problem with that is every time you're doing that, you're causing a car crash because you're crossing over to the other side of the road. And it's not loving, it's not kind, and your partner no one likes to be told what to do, especially in an intimate relationship. So the invitation in this case was, at that stage in time, I was very stuck in my ways. I wasn't open to change. And so Aston realized that if she went first, there was the possibility of influencing me. And it did actually work. So Aston did all this work on herself and stopped pointing the finger at me, which was a bit foreign, I must admit. Like I I didn't actually know what was going on. I just realized that she was being less critical, less controlling. She wasn't engaging in those same conversations where it felt like a bit of an attack, like I'd done something wrong or I wasn't doing enough. And she was just focused on herself. She was working with coaches, she was reading books and actually embodying the work, not just reading about it or learning about it, but embodying it, because she was showing up different in the relationship. She would have different conversations with me. She would respond differently when I tried to have an argument, or when I said the thing that I always said, she wouldn't respond the same. And that's when I started to notice that things were really changing, because she was changing. And this went on for a period of months. And then we got to a point where she changed that much. And I was trying to have this same argument. I was trying to cause an argument over something. I can't remember what the thing was. It's probably irrelevant. But the fact that I was trying to engage in an argument, but Aston wasn't engaging back, I felt a bit silly, because you can only have an argument if there's two parties involved. If one person refuses to engage, and they're almost very neutral about it, it's not like they're completely withdrawing.
Yeah, I wasn't withdrawing.
Aston was, you were neutral. You were just like at peace in yourself. And I sensed that, and I started to feel a bit silly. Like, what am I doing? I'm still trying to have the same argument. You're looking pretty happy over there. So I felt like a bit of a dick, to be honest. And then that happened a few times. And then I started to look in the mirror and think, okay, well, what's really going on here? I still feel like shit. She's looking pretty happy over there. She's changed. It started to dawn on me that if I didn't actually start to change, I had work to do. I could clearly see at that point I had some things to change and some shitty beliefs and behaviors. And if I didn't change them, I was going to lose this beautiful woman, because she changed so much. She was probably going to attract somebody who could meet her where she was at now. She'd grown and changed, and I wasn't meeting her at that level. So my fear was that she was going to outgrow me and find somebody better. And it was a great wake-up call. I then had to be honest with myself, and I realized that I had things to look at. I had some beliefs to look at. I had some behaviors to look at, and I had work to do. And that was the wake-up call. And then I went on my own journey. I got my own coach, but I did it on my own time frame and by myself. Aston wasn't, and then we hear this from a lot of couples where one partner's sending the other one like DMs in Instagram, like, check out this coach, check out this person, check out this course, or whatever it is. And so it can be from a loving place, but sometimes it comes across as like, you're trying to fix me. And we had this in our relationship as well, a lot of that.
If you're not in a good place, those messages are not received well. It's like passive aggressive.
Yeah.
If you're in a good place and your partner's open and willing, then definitely you can send things to each other and it will be received.
Yeah.
But if you're not in a good place and you're not open and willing to do the work, I wouldn't recommend sending them things, because you will. It's passive aggressive.
Yeah.
They likely won't receive it well.
And I guess what I realized during this time is that Aston, it wasn't so much that she was just wanting to be critical and control me and didn't think I was good enough. It's that she actually wanted more in the relationship. And I saw that through her actions rather than through her words. So what a lot of people do is they tell their partner that they want more connection and they want better communication, and it comes across like an attack or a criticism. Like, what I'm doing right now isn't good enough, and you're not happy, and blah, blah, blah. And then they make up a story. Whereas Aston was just doing things by herself. She was being different, showing up different. And that was inspiring to me. It's a lot more inspiring when one of you goes first and the other one notices the change, rather than trying to criticize your way to where you want to go or drag your partner along for the journey. So that's what inspired me, and it definitely worked.
Yeah, it definitely worked. And I think, it's not an easy path. Not everyone can do this.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a lot of self-awareness, a lot of self-responsibility, and, a willingness to be a leader. But they're all qualities that I value. So I just decided to be it. Complaining about it, waiting for him to change, it just wasn't working for me. I got sick and tired of it. And it just made sense to me to do the complete opposite. I remember just one day going, I'm just going to do the complete opposite. I'm just going to take full responsibility for what I want, and I'm just going to start creating it. And whether he comes along for the journey or not, I don't mind actually, because either way I'm going to win and either way I'm going to get what I want.
Yeah.
And I was unattached as to when you would join the journey, how you would do it. I just knew where I was going and what I wanted. And I did it from a loving place. I wasn't being a bitch. I wasn't trying to manipulate him. You know, you've got to really check in with your intentions. It really was coming from a place of self-love and self-respect for myself, but also respect for you and love for you, that I can't force you to do anything you don't want to do, and I can't make you change. So, but I also, the most loving thing to do is not to just wait and stay there miserable and resentful. It's to actually, for me to take action towards where I want to go. So I think, you know, it is hurtful when your partner is blaming you. Like, it was hurtful that Adam would constantly, it is honestly like his shit didn't stink. Like, literally.
It's laughable now.
It's actually laughable now. Like, everything. Like he could do no wrong, basically.
Yeah, and not just in our relationship, but in every area of life.
Every area.
I tried to paint every area better than what it was.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of work to do in different areas of my life.
Yeah. So, you know, it was hard, but I got tired of defending myself, you know, and I realized I didn't need to defend myself because it wasn't working. It was actually more effective for me to just take responsibility for my part. And to be honest, actually, I took responsibility for the whole thing because I wanted change. So, you know, and this will still come up from time to time. You don't blame me nowhere near as you used to. Like, I wouldn't even call it blame now, but every now and again, if you're, you know, stressed, you regress and you go back to your old patterns. And we had a moment of stress recently on a holiday in New Zealand, and we got kind of stuck in this fight where you kept blaming me for something that happened and you weren't taking any responsibility. And I noticed it and I was like, oh, I'm getting defensive. That doesn't work. I'm going to do the opposite and I'm going to take 100% responsibility for this. And so we're in the car and I was just like, no, you're right. It's all my fault. Like, I 100% take responsibility. I wasn't clear in my communication. I could have done better. I'm fully owning this is all on me. And as soon as I said that, Adam just softened and he opened and he was like, no, like, I 100% had something to do with that. And I didn't listen and I didn't ask you what you wanted. And it was just hilarious how fast and how quickly things shift when one of you just takes 100% responsibility.
Yeah, just put down your guard.
Completely put down your guard. And then the other person, they can't help but do the right thing, even if it's hard. Whereas when you're being defensive, they will just match your energy. You're always responding to each other. You're always matching each other's energy. So if you're listening to this, like, a hack I would say to start, and, you know, it's not for the faint-hearted, but give it a go for, you know, at least a month, is every time your partner blames you for something, just take full responsibility for it. Genuinely, authentically. And, you know, I would say in the early days when this was happening for us, I would say to you, I'm going to go and journal on that, or I'm going to, you know, go away and go and feel my feelings and, you know, work on that. And it only took a few times of me doing that for Adam to be like, wow, like, I can't stay angry at her. I can't keep blaming her because she's taking responsibility and she's taking action. She's saying sorry. She's acknowledging her part. And then she's actually going to do something about it. Like Adam said, he felt like a real dick after a while that he still wasn't letting it go, because I basically gave him every reason to let it go and to acknowledge his part in it. So I would do the opposite of what you're doing.
Yeah. Totally.
If you're getting stuck and he's blaming you, I can almost guarantee you're getting defensive. And I would just, you know, accept that what we say to our clients all the time, like, you're both the problem and you're both the solution. So anytime your partner makes you feel like a problem, you don't need to take it as a personal attack, because at any time, either of you is choosing to be the problem or the solution. And if they're painting you as the problem, why not choose to, you know, put yourself as a solution and just go, oh, you know, take 100% responsibility and go, okay, yeah, I can see that. I'm sorry. And I'm going to go and journal, or I'm going to go and breathe or feel my feelings, and I'm going to work on that. And then just see what happens. Take the feedback. You will definitely notice a softness in your partner, and it doesn't, you know, slowly but surely they will start to soften and open, and they'll build evidence that growing with you is safe. When you keep criticizing your partner, and I made this mistake for years, when I kept criticizing Adam, pointing out all the things he was doing wrong, telling him how he was not good enough and bad and needed to be better, it sent a message to his nervous system that growing with me was a threat.
Yeah.
It meant danger. It meant it was scary. Change was scary.
Yeah.
And every human being is scared of change. So the best thing you can do for your partner is to show them, not just tell them, but show them through your actions and your body language and your interactions that growing with me is safe. And I'm going to show you it's safe because I'm going to go first. I'm going to go first. I'm going to grow. I'm going to learn. And I'm going to influence you by interacting with you in a safer way, in a healthier way. And it's going to inspire you to want to grow with me.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's far more effective.
It is, absolutely. Thanks for that question, Ash. That was a great one. We're going to move on to the next question now. So Tammy sent in another question. She said, help me put down the ego. I've spent a lot of time in therapy and read hundreds of self-help books. I get stuck in my head and my ego thinks it knows all the answers. I'm struggling to put down my ego to be soft and humble instead of defensive.
Yes.
I love this question.
Yeah.
It is a very common struggle. You're not alone there, Tammy. And this is actually one that I had as well. To give you a bit of an understanding, I guess, of where this comes from, it's for a lot of people, it's coming from us initially from a place of not enoughness. So some of us are reading books and doing courses and trying to accumulate knowledge and skills in things because we don't feel enough as we are.
Mm-hmm.
So we go out and we gather all the things and we assemble it all in our minds, and then we think, okay, now I'm good enough. I know how to do X, Y, and Z. And then we kind of use that as a justification and a story as to why things are the way they are, and we know the answers. We've already done that, but it traps us as well. It keeps us stuck, and the ego's running the show, and
it can become like a self-fulfilling prophecy as
it
well.
does.
Like I did this for years. I love self-development, spiritual work, all of it.
Yep.
Been doing it since I was 16, but definitely in the beginning, I did it from a place of, I would call it self-punishment.
Yeah.
Self-loathing, and like you said, from a place of I'm not enough. Maybe if I read enough books, maybe if I do enough courses, maybe if I go to enough Tony Robbins events, I'll be fixed. I'll be healed. I'll be enough. And because my intention was, coming from that place of lack, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it was never satiated. I was never enough. And actually, the more I learned and the more I tried, the more not enough I felt.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until we kind of went through the challenges in our marriage that I realized there's another way to do this.
Yep.
And I call it like working on yourself from a place of self-love. And self-love is like, I am enough as I am. I am enough as I am, but I accept myself as I am. And that means all my imperfections as well, because we are not perfect. I am not perfect in no way, shape, or form. I'm definitely human. And we are we are flawed by design. We are literally designed to be imperfect. That is the thing that makes us unique and different.
Yeah.
So I started to embrace my imperfections. And anyone listening who struggles with perfectionism, I highly recommend to all my clients reading The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown. It really helped me understand perfectionism and where it came from, and that it was a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
A coping strategy from childhood. If I don't make a mistake, if I get it all right, then I'll be enough.
Yep.
But it then becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where you never feel enough.
Yes.
So it's choosing to accept your imperfections and love your flaws as part of, being uniquely you, whilst welcoming who you're becoming. So that's what self-love really means to me now. And that's what, working on myself or improving myself means to me now. And I don't even like using those words anymore. I actually prefer to use the word like being the truest version of myself and unlearning everything that I'd learnt, all the conditioning that actually told me it wasn't safe to be who I am.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing is relearning like who I really am and taking away all those blocks and those barriers that I'd put up that actually prevented me from being the truest version of myself.
Yeah.
So I think in short, I would encourage you to check in with your intention with doing the work on yourself. And I can almost guarantee listening to this that it's coming from a place of like, criticism and being really hard on yourself. And the invitation would be to come from a more loving, compassionate place. And bring the younger parts with you along with the journey, because your ego is developed from a young age from the younger parts of you that are trying to protect you. So you want to thank them and you want to acknowledge them, but you want to also unburden them and let them know, like, I'm not 5 anymore. I'm not 10 anymore. And I love everything about you and all that you've been through. And I want you to know that I'm going to love you into who you're becoming. And so I think you can include love in this journey, and I would highly recommend that you do.
Yep.
And that looks like more acceptance, more compassion, more kindness to yourself, because you grow with support and love. Like no plant grows when you deny it water.
Yeah.
So, I see the self-love element as the water to actually help me grow.
Yeah, absolutely. They've also done studies on speaking to plants.
Yeah.
And the words that you speak to a plant affects its growth.
Yeah.
The same's true for you. You're speaking to yourself either verbally or, for most people, it's inside their own head.
Yeah, that
every
inner
single
critic.
day, the inner critic, and whether that voice is negative or positive affects how you then show up in the world.
Yeah.
But like Aston said, the ego is just a protection mechanism, and it's a deep-rooted sense of not feeling safe in yourself. So there's work you could do on inner child work, on your nervous system and regulating your nervous system so you feel more safe. But definitely the answer is compassion. I would ask yourself the question, like, is a baby worthy of love? Like, every human being comes into this world deserving of love.
Yeah.
Regardless of who their parents were or where they grew up. It's not about what you do or what you know or what you have. Every human deserves love, and so do you, and you need to give that to yourself and recognize it's got nothing to do with how many books you've read or how much therapy you've done.
Yeah.
You are deserving as you are.
And what I'm hearing in this also is like love is earned.
Yeah.
There's this undercurrent, there's like a belief that love has an equation. And for this person, it sounds like love is hard work and like it's earned. And if you have that equation for love, then that will be your equation for yourself and for your partner. And I would imagine that you're not going to be feeling very loved. You're probably going to be feeling very stressed, exhausted, like you're not enough. So my invitation would be to look at what would be possible for you if you had a different equation for love. Like, I know it can be hard if we were raised like that. A lot of people were raised with that.
Yep.
But just because you were conditioned with that doesn't mean that that's what love is, or doesn't mean that that's the only thing that's possible for you. Especially as an adult now in the world, you can redefine what love means to you and what that equation of love is. And that would be my invitation. And for me, it really comes back to exactly what you said. Like, love just is. Like, you love something for who they're being. So what if the equation is who I am being, and connecting with myself equals love? And then like that feels better in your system. And then what would happen if you started to love your partner through that lens? And what you would notice is your ego would get quieter. If you were living from that equation of love, your ego wouldn't need to protect so much.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have a full-time job. Your inner critic, that critical voice, would calm down because it would realize, oh, like this person is not available for self-punishment. They're only available for self-love. And so then it would start to shift that internal narrative. So yeah, I think there's an invitation to look at changing your definition of love and making it more supportive for you and for your relationship. And learning to love yourself is a practice, but there is no child that is born literally saying, I need to earn love and I've got to work hard for it, or I need to be quiet or easy to be loved. Like, no, we get conditioned with those things because it's convenient for our parents, and maybe our parents didn't have capacity to meet those needs. That's all that means. It doesn't mean that you were worth that or anything like that. It's a reflection of their capacity. And once you're an adult, you can say, yeah, I mean, of course that's not true. Like, I would never look at my children and think, any of those things, that you have to be quiet or you have to earn it or you have to work hard. Like, I just love them.
Yeah.
Just absolutely love them for who they are. And if you don't have children, I'm sure you have a pet. And if you have a pet, like, you're not standing there going, obviously we have preferences that they don't poo inside and stuff like that. But if they do, you still love them.
Yeah, of course.
For who they are. So I think just looking at it through that lens would definitely help dismantle the ego. And The other thing I would mention around this is learning how to speak to your ego. So you have more control than you realize. Sometimes if your ego is saying really nasty things to yourself, you just need to say, "Hey, don't speak to me like that." And it will calm down. Or you might need to say to it, "Get in the back seat. I'm driving." Or you might need to see it as a younger part of you that you reassure and you go, "Hey, I know you're scared and you're trying to protect me right now, but I'm just letting you know I'm no longer 5. I'm now 35. I'm now 45." And that younger part of you is going to go, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Sometimes your ego or the younger parts of you inside of you, they're trapped in a time or a period that happened in your past. And if you don't go and, revisit it, not to relive it, but to just close the loop on that trauma and like reassure that part that you now are going to give yourself what you need, it might still be showing up in arguments or tough situations in your life. So, and this is what we love helping our clients do with hypnotherapy. It's a beautiful way to, help them make peace with those younger parts of themselves and turn that ego voice down. But
yeah, that's
I
beautiful.
hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Tammy, and thank you, Ash, for your questions. If you're listening to this and you got some value with it, or if you've got a question as well, you can go to savemymarriageschool.com/podcast, and there's a box down the very bottom of the page where you can submit your question. We'd love to see your question, and we'll answer it on a future episode.
Yep, and we'll put a link to put a question below. So
yeah, we'll pop
to
that
the
link
link.
below in the
Yeah.
show notes so you can get access to that. But thank you for listening. And if you've loved this, please leave us a review on whatever platform you're on. We'd really appreciate that. It just helps the show to get out to more people who really need it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.